everybody. Remember us? It's the Monkees podcast. My name is Tekurah McCullough. It's been a couple of months, but I'm glad you're back with us. Today, we're going to be watching The Case of the Missing Monkee. That's episode 17. And joining us is my friend, Alan Home.
Hey! Hey!
Woo, coming in hot.
So sorry.
No, that's okay.
Yes, I am. So for longtime listeners and fans of this podcast, I was known as the mystery man who went to SF Sketchfest.
Oh, that's right.
And
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. You know what? Honestly, we've only met in person, I think, twice. So it's not like, it's not like we're the dearest of friends, it's just like we're more Facebook friends than anything else. So,
that's true.
But the only reason I bring it up is because I want people at home to get closure, to feel like, they don't have to wonder anymore. Who is this mystery person? Will we ever learn about what question he asked?
Where did he go?
Yeah. So now we know.
What was your question? Remember?
Of course. Okay. So I have to say first, I have seen a lot of Q&As. I cannot think of a time I have heard worse audio or audience questions than this particular Q&A. Just so bad, but I won't dwell on those.
Remember them.
And I think good you don't remember them. But I think this is why Paul Myers, Mike Myers' brother, who was the moderator of this whole thing, actually said I had a good question because in comparison to everyone else, this was a good question.
I didn't know that was Mike Myers' brother.
Oh yeah, it's his older brother. Yeah. And so his career path has been author, sort of not a biographer, so more as a chronicler of comedy and music and things. And so he was the moderator of this Monkees panel. And my question was, for the band. The band wasn't initially a band, right? They were a TV show sort of first, but then they also recorded albums, but they didn't play on any of those songs. And so my question was, hey, you got the notice that your guys are going to go on tour after, I think, the first season of the show, and yet you've never played any of these songs. Did you freak out? Or what was your reaction to all of this? And because it was because I'm not a very good musician. I've tried for millions of years and I'm never going to be good. And if somebody said to me, you're going to play these songs you've never played before, I would be like, oh, because the only way I get good at any of these songs is just playing them thousands and thousands of times. And especially during the recording of songs, you play things so many times that you just get better at it. So I said to them, like, I would be freaking out. How did you feel? And they just said, no, I mean, we had time off after the season ended. And so they had something like 6 months. And so they just, all they did was they went to the soundstage where they recorded the show, and seeing that it was dark, they just said, we're just going to sit here and practice these. I don't know, they probably had 12 songs, for 6 months. And here's my favorite part of this thing that I had no idea of, is that their first show was in Hawaii. Because keep in mind, this is the 60s, this is before the internet. And if their concern was that the show wasn't going to go well, and if it didn't go well, it's not like anybody was keeping tabs on what's going on in the wild music scene in Hawaii. It's like, other than the
insane.
Yeah, other than the errant Don Ho Tiny Bubbles concert, there really is no music scene in Hawaii. So they were just like, look, if this show tanks and the boys can't play their instruments, who's going to know except for the a couple of thousand people that went to the gig. So of course it went swimmingly well. Like 20,000 people filled up like the Aloha Bowl or University of Hawaii or wherever it was. And then, so of course the PR department now had a good thing, and then they could take that back and blast that all over everywhere saying like, hey, Monkees take Hawaii by storm or whatever. So, so I thought that was and then of course all the other stuff that came out of that Sketchfest appearance about them doing tons and tons of improv, which when I didn't know that, and so when we watch this week's episode, I'm really going to be looking for the improv part of this because they said in the thing that they're like, even though we had a script, we improved a lot. And so and a lot of the times they use the improv take instead of the scripted one. So we're going to see just how much of that is improvised, and if you and I can pick up on maybe like, oh, that thing was improv and that was scripted or whatever.
I think a lot of the improv was in the romps. That's what I always interpreted. I always thought, oh, when they're running around, when the music is playing, the little music videos, that's when I always assumed that's where all the improv was. And I was surprised to hear that, like, oh no, some of the takes, some of the scripted stuff. I was like, really? Yeah, that's really, I hadn't thought about that since then. And that was like, when was that?
Sketchfest is always in January, early February. So
that was this year?
It was 2019. Yeah. No, 2020. Yeah. Yeah. 2020.
It was this year.
Yeah.
That feels like ages ago.
Yes.
That was just
yes, it does.
Wow. Yeah. So yeah, that was fun. That was a fun time.
Except for that murderous drive home that you had to do.
Oh my God.
Immediately after the show. So
yeah, I did drive from San Francisco back to Pasadena, like an insane person. But it was kind of nice to go through parts of California that I hadn't been through. Granted, it was dark, but it was like, oh, I think Modesto is somewhere in that direction, I've been that way in a long time. Bridges, beautiful bridges. And I enjoyed Mike just making faces at, just doing bits.
Yes.
Wasn't he was doing like a microphone bit at some point?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. And it was very refreshing that Mike was doing bits, because I had always heard like he's kind of serious and he wouldn't play with the guys on many of the tours. And I just thought, oh, what a stick in the mud this guy's going to be. But no, he was having a grand, I mean, both of them were having a grand old time. It's just, it's also very interesting to see Mike be kind of almost the goofier of the two, because he's not that in the show. He's like the serious one in the show. And then to see him be the silly one, it's like, oh, wow. And I wonder if maybe he was not, well, obviously he was not the silly one, just maybe because he was new at it. Because this was not a world he had come from. Whereas Micky Dolenz had been circus boy, he was a child actor, like he knew this world. Whereas Nesmith was more of a singer, and he would MC a hootenanny, which was something that they talked about as well. But that was the other thing. That blew my mind. Was Nesmith tells a story of they did an open casting for the Monkees. So they had Davy Jones already locked down. Micky Dolenz, because of his previous acting, he got to jump the queue, probably still had to audition, but at least he had an agent. People knew who, he had a body of work. I don't know what Torque's deal was. I don't think anybody knows what Torque's deal is, but Nesmith, he's hosting this hootenanny, and a guy hands him Variety magazine with an ad in the back of it saying, we're looking for, and then they describe who they're looking for.
4 insane boys or something.
Yeah, right. And then his friend is like, you should go out for this. And it wasn't even Nesmith picking up the ad and thinking, I should do this. It's somebody pointing at him and saying, you should do this.
You should do this.
And isn't that just the fates smiling on you in the most insane way? Like this one chance person saying this thing to him just changed his life forever. I mean, just think of like all the weird machinations, all the parallel universes where like the friend loses the copy of Variety and just shrugs it off and be like, Nesmith wouldn't have done it anyway, or whatever.
Right. Coffee on it.
Right. Or, whatever. Like that is just bananas, just the way that worked out so well for him. And obviously he deserved, everything he's gotten because he's a super talented dude.
Yeah. So the ad, I did have it right. It was Madness auditions folk and roll musician singers for acting roles in new TV series, running parts for 4 insane boys. I remember that. Ages 17 to 21. Want spirited Ben Franks types. Have courage to work. Must come down for interview. And there's a phone number. And I can't remember what Ben Franks types means. I did look that up at one point too. I can look that up again. But yeah, I think it was like his boss or somebody he'd been writing songs for or something gave Nesmith that ad and said, this is good for you. Which is like weird. Ben Franks was a hangout. Oh, okay. It was a hangout in the 60s. It was a coffee shop on the Sunset Strip.
So they wanted beatniks? Like, I still don't know what that means, but
I don't know, but yeah, it was Ben Franks was a rock and roll hangout in the 60s. There's a Mel's drive-in now. That's weird. But it's a Mel's.
But he doesn't. That's the other interesting thing about Nesmith is he is about as far away from rock and roll as I can think. Right? Like he's got the
he's got like the country
on. He's got mutton chops, but that's like kind of it for him in the 60s.
True. But he was kind of he was definitely more country. And I know one of the music-y producer-y guys, I can't remember if it was oh my gosh, I apologize everybody. COVID has taken all Monkees knowledge out of my brain. Like names that I used to be able to pull immediately, I can't remember. Anyway, the Archies guy, the guy that did the Archies, the evil producer that Mike punched the wall. Anyway, I think he like was like mocking Mike's country sounds. Like, ugh, this kid with his twang and whatnot. Like I think some of them really did not get Mike's sound and did not want his input on stuff.
And he's so low key. It's like, this is not rock and roll. So, I mean,
yeah,
but who, maybe for Nesmith, maybe it was just like, well, we need a guy who can sing.
But have you seen his interview? Have you seen his screen test?
Yeah, well, no, I've seen the interview segment that they did at the end of one of the episodes, and he kind of recreates one of his screen tests a little bit, and he's doing he's doing some weird butler bit, which also doesn't seem very rock and roll.
No, but it was his attitude. He had the, I can take this or leave this. I am better than you. I'm going to have fun. I don't care what your agenda is. He had this attitude that was so appealing in his screen test that's what got him the job, really.
I tell this to everybody who will listen, which is, if you can just pretend you have confidence in this arena, whatever it is, doesn't matter whether you have it or not, people will just believe it. And then, you can just, they'll do stuff. They'll hire you to be a Monkee as long as you can just pretend that you confidently can do this thing. And it works in every facet of your life, whether it's job or relationships or whatever. Just fake it until you make it. Just act like you know what you're doing. And don't be a jerk about it, but just
Right.
be confident.
Yeah, definitely. And he was so confident, but in a funny way, not a funny way, but like still likable. But
Right.
yeah, kind of a jerk. But
and this is another thing that I think really also sold them on him is I think one of the biggest things about the Monkees that they were banking on was likability. Because, and I think that's also why they wanted them to improvise and why they had them take improv classes is because they needed them to be familiar with each other. We needed to believe that these guys actually hung out together and were friends. And especially if you're dealing with non-actors, you need a way of sort of accelerating the friendship in a way. And so doing improv classes and getting people loosened up and tossing out their inhibitions and all of that and liking and feeling like, they like each other and therefore we can like them too. I think that comes through so much in the TV show. And one of the things I really love about the show, and that and the music, of course. But I tell you, it took me it was funny because growing up, I really liked the show first. And then it wasn't until later where I really did start to appreciate the music. And then, and then Rhino Records in the 90s, in the late 90s, re-released all the Monkees albums. And then just something clicked in me and I just bought them all. I just had to have all the Monkees albums. And I still only really listen to the greatest hits, but I have all the Monkees albums. So it's that's
really interesting.
Yeah.
So when you were watching the first time, you would be like, "Oh, this is great," and then the song would come on, and would you be like, "Ugh"? Or would you change the channel? Like what would you do during the song?
No. I mean, the songs were I enjoyed the songs, but they didn't hit me like they did much later. And then of course, like you say, like I grew up on Scooby-Doo, right? So Scooby-Doo is doing almost the same thing where it's like we're just running around in circles and he's going in that door and she's coming out that door with this cool, 60s rock track playing underneath. I mean, that's essentially the same thing. So I was already preconditioned to like that and understand that format. And then, of course, I grew up. So I originally came to the Monkees in the 70s when there were only 6 channels. So there was no, second screen experience. There was no like, I'm going to turn to some other channel. No, I mean, there was literally nothing else to watch. So I was just like, perfect. And so it helped. It was great that I found the Monkees because there was just such a dearth of things a person my age could really get excited about at 3:00 in the afternoon on a Wednesday.
Right. Yeah, it was like the Monkees and like maybe some Gilligan's Island reruns.
But that's the other thing, right? Compared to Gilligan's Island, the Monkees is Shakespeare. It's so far above, Brady Bunch, Gilligan's Island, Dragnet. I mean, Dragnet's a great show, but not for a 7-year-old.
Right. No.
Adam 12, Emergency, all those shows from the 70s. Yeah, they're great for an adult, but the Monkees, and that's the other thing too, is as thinking about that show now, to think that it was ever in prime time also sounds just completely insane to me.
Yeah. Like when I watch broadcasts that have like the commercials attached to it and like sometimes online and I think maybe on the DVD, I don't know, it's been a long time since I watched my DVD, you'll see like the little commercials that they did, for like Kellogg's and some cologne, Black Label. And it's just so weird to see them like, hey, we're TV stars and here we are in a commercial. I'm like, no, you're not. You're not real. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Nobody cares if you have cereal. Go away. And Kool-Aid. Oh, so much Kool-Aid. Yeah. It was just, it's weird to think that these weirdos were TV stars.
Yeah. And that, and like Adam West's, 1966 Batman was in prime time.
Yeah. Everyone's like, let's watch Batman.
Yeah. And you had to, and Batman not only was he on prime time, he was on twice a week, because they would always have a cliffhanger at the end of, I think, the first, like the Tuesday night show. And so then by Thursday night, you would watch, the wrap up. Yeah, that's the way I understand it.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay. All right. We've got to get into this. We got to get into the episode. All right. So we are going to be watching, we're still in season 1, but we have gone to disc 3. If you're playing along at home on your DVDs, we are on disc 3. Episode 17, The Case of the Missing Monkee, January 9th, 1967, directed by Robert Rafelson, written by Gerald Gardner and Dee Caruso, produced by Robert Rafelson and Bert Schneider, associate producer Ward Sylvester, a Raybert production. During a gig at a banquet, Peter stumbles into a plot to smuggle an esteemed professor, Norbert Schiller, out of the country. Production notes. I guess that's it for the synopsis. Okay. Production notes. The Case of the Missing Monkee was filmed in November 1966. A deleted tag scene in Screen Gem's original script synopsis called for Peter to be approached by an attractive woman with a note, prompting the Monkees' fear of another kidnapping. Vito Scotti, who appears in the episode as the conniving Dr. Markovich, later turns up as I. Vitelloni in the Monkees' feature film Head. Oh. Song, I'm Not Your Stepping Stone, Tommy Boyce and Bobby Hart. All right, do you remember this episode?
Oh, no. I haven't seen any Monkees since, I think when you were saying that they came on MTV or VH1 at some point. Yeah. I think I saw one episode during that run, but other than that, I haven't seen. And it's this is going to be interesting. Like, I don't know I think I'm going to appreciate it better because I know sort of the improv and the dynamics and all that stuff. And I'm hoping that I'll like it better. So we'll see.
We'll see. Okay, everybody. All right. So, folks at home, remember you can watch some of the episodes on MeTV, DirecTV, and Sling, I think. I don't know. It's been a while since I've checked those things. Also, you can tube it sometimes online. All right. So we're going to check out this episode and we'll talk to you all afterwards. Bye. See you in a bit. I forgot how much I like this episode.
Really?
Oh, no.
Wow.
Well, when I read it, I initially was like, oh no, I don't remember liking this one, but there are parts I like about it. I honestly, I thought it was one that I really hated. So it's not one that I hate.
That's good. Just in general, I forgot how just oppressive the laugh track is.
I know. That's the first thing I forget. I forget every time I watch. Every single time I watch, I go, "Oh, laugh track."
But it's laughs where there are no laughs. Like they do just tons and tons of stuff that's not even remotely funny, and they're just putting laughs on it, the laugh track on it, and you're just like, why? I mean, there's no joke here.
It's pretty bad. And then when they when they put the laugh track on Davy's almost racist, but not even good enough to be a racist joke. Like, it's so awkward.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Looking through it with the modern day lens, and then just like, it's like, wow, that's not good. It
wasn't even that funny. All right. So,
okay. So first of all, the opening. I had forgotten that they do a different opening in season 1 than the rest of the other seasons.
Yeah.
And I hate it. I hate this opening.
Me too. I hate this opening. I can't wait to get to season 2. It's
the same song, but it's not the opening I remember. And it's just a bunch of them. I don't know, like driving around and doing stuff. It's not stuff from the show. It's just a bunch of B-roll and junk that they shot.
Yeah, it's stuff that they use in some of the romps. Like you'll see bits of those things in romps, but yeah, it's not from the show. It's really awkward. A lot of it is from like the first episode. Like
yeah.
the very first episode.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I don't like this opening either. And I'm like, a part of me is like, oh, I can't wait till we get to the second season. But then I'll be sad because I'm like, oh, we're in the second season. There's only 2 seasons. But yeah, so the opening. But before the opening credits, they're in the same large room they're always in most of the episodes. But this time it has like, is it yellow curtains? I can't remember. Or brown curtains. Anyway, so the boys are sitting on the stage like they've just finished playing or something. And people are at like dining tables. And the professor is saying like, in conclusion, does he say, war is war, and peace is peace, and science is science. And he gets a big round of applause.
Huge laugh track.
Cute laugh track. But I like that. I think that one's cute. I don't know why. It tickles me now. And Peter really appreciates that. And then when he's the professor is making the rounds and shaking hands, and Peter comes up to him, and the professor slips Peter a note saying they're taking me to the Remington Clinic.
Yeah. So now the interesting thing about this entire episode is they don't explain anything. They don't explain why the Monkees are at this event. They don't explain who this doctor is or why he's talking.
Nope.
It's none of it's explained. And I think it's interesting too, the idea that the Monkees and anybody from science are at the same event, I find insane.
Yeah, it's like, why did they hire the Monkees to play the speech of this like great scientist?
Yeah. It doesn't make it, and they don't explain it. So, okay, great. So you get slipped the note. I'm going to be at the whatever institute.
The Remington Clinic. And so Peter tries to get the rest of the guys' attention. Like, we have to play. So never mind, because they don't pay attention to Peter.
Poor Peter.
Poor Peter. And oh wait, what? Peter gets gavel to the noggin. Oh
yes,
yes, Peter gets hit on the head.
Because he was asking too many questions about the guy who was just speaking like 10 seconds ago, who they've already abducted. So that now they have to abduct Peter because now Peter's asking too many questions. So they bonk him on the head with a sled. Like it's gotta be the test your strength sledgehammer that they do in one of the other bits.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge, oversized gavel-y sledgehammer thing. And then we get our opening credits. And then we cut back and the guys are like, oh, it's not like Pete to take off in the middle of a gig. Yeah, it's not like any band member to take off in the middle of a gig. That would suck. You would be a terrible band member.
Yes.
Is it like Davey does it all the time or something? Like, yeah, you do it, but not like Pete do it.
But it's not like Peter.
And then they start asking around, and they actually ask the bad guy, Marovovich or whatever his name is.
Right.
And he says, don't do that. Now that is a little inside joke from the Monkees versus Machine. I'm trying to find the name because I always forget the name of this actor, the well-known comedian. Oh my gosh, where is it? Monkee.
Oh, the joke is it hurts when I do that, so don't do that.
I don't even know why. Oh, I can't find. Why can't I find Monkee versus Machine? It's like this third episode. There it is. It's from Stan Freberg.
Oh, right.
Freberg was played a bad guy in the third episode, and he'd always say, "Don't do that." And the Monkees thought that was so funny, and they like work it in as much as possible.
Okay.
So that was the "Don't do that" from the evil doctor guy. And so then finally Mike realizes, oh, let me look at that note that Peter was bugging me about.
Which he pulled. So the Monkees are wearing their double-breasted shirts that they wear in a variety of colors.
Yes.
That you may remember from the second season opening credits. And it's interesting because Mike pulls the note out from in between the double-breastedness. He doesn't put the note in his pants pocket, which would make sense. He pulls it from the side of his shirt, which I thought they do that a lot.
They do that all the time. It doesn't even faze me that that's where they pull it from. They do that all the time. I'm convinced as a kid, I was like, well, that's clearly a pocket because they always put stuff there. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe is that like a camera thing? Like they don't want them reaching down out of the shot, and so it's just easier visually to just reach across your chest. I have no idea.
They would have to have built like a special pocket on the inside because there's nothing holding it there. So,
isn't there a panel?
I don't know.
A panel on the inside. Oh, all right. You know what? Tailors and seamstresses, let us know.
We want to know the physics behind the Monkees' clothing.
So they finally follow the note. They drive to the Remington Clinic and they make a big show out of the sign. I mean, not the Monkees, but the show itself. They like show the sign, Remington Clinic. Then they show the Monkees pulling up and parking. And they walk into the building and then they show the sign again, Remington Clinic. How much money did they spend on that sign that they felt the need to show it so many times?
Yeah, they hadn't figured out in television, you have this thing called the establishing shot, which it lets the audience know where you are. So it's just like, well, we just got to show the sign a bunch. That'll inform them.
Yeah, not the change in scene. We won't figure it out. Are they still at the restaurant? What's happening? I'm confused. No, we got it. And they walk in and they start asking the nurse, and they can't remember the name. I like this bit. Isn't this a fun bit? They're like, oh yeah, we're looking for Mr. Schnitzel. Schnitzler? Yeah, never heard of him. I love it. Come on.
Yeah, that was okay.
That's a classic.
That was a joke. That was a joke that was meant to be a joke, where the laugh track did actually apply.
Yes, I love that joke.
But my favorite joke, or not my favorite, my second favorite joke is right after that, they start talking about Peter.
Yes.
Because they're also looking for Peter, and they think Peter is at the Institute.
Mm-hmm.
And then they are describing Peter, and, you know, he's 5'10" and brown hair and all this. And then they say he's a very sensitive man. He cries at card tricks.
Yes, I love that so much.
And I thought it was funny. And also it totally fits that Peter would do that. Yes. I'm just like, yeah, that's cute.
Yeah. And the nurse is even charmed. She's like, aw. Yeah, they describe Torque. It's very cute. Has gray green eyes, light brown. I mean, like they really describe them. I mean,
oh yeah.
It's like y'all been paying attention, I guess.
I don't know my friends that well. I mean, these guys, I mean, they live together, so it makes sense that they would know each other maybe a little better, but I don't know, man. They spend a lot of time with each other.
Gray green eyes. That is very specific. Like,
like
either gray. I don't even think most people wouldn't even say gray eye. I'd be like, I don't know, he's got green. Are they brown?
I mean, if we want to try and retcon it, the only thing I can figure is that maybe they were interviewed by like a Teen Beat style magazine at some point, and then maybe an interviewer brought it up, and then maybe there was a debate about it. Pete, you don't have green eyes. I don't know. I think I have gray eyes. I always thought your eyes were blue. No, this one's gray and this one's green. Oh my God, he's got green eyes. Oh, that's the only way that it makes any sense that they would know this information. But I guess it's possible they could.
And that has been a look back at the Monkee set, 1966. Join us next week. Yeah, I think that's pretty much, that has to be it. Because I don't know why green, that just really stood out to me this time. The specificity of gray green eyes. And then the nurse is like going through a Rolodex. And I was like, oh, look at the Rolodex. She's going through those cards in the circle, and she's flipping through looking for Torque. And then Mickey has a dumb joke. I'm going to skip it. And she's like, well, if your friend is missing, you should go, tell the police. And do you hear what do you hear what Davey says? He ad-libs. I think it's an ad-lib as they walk out.
No, I couldn't hear it.
He says, "Gonna go see the man." I think that's Davy. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I'm like, all right.
Gonna go see the man. And then the evil doctor comes in, and he's all eyebrows and suspiciousness, asking the nurse what they were looking for. And so then he's really, I kind of enjoy, at this point, I'm like, oh, I like this actor at this point, because I enjoy his like shiftiness and his eyebrow work.
Yes.
Then the Monkees bring a cop to what used to be a French restaurant, but oh no, it's now a Chinese restaurant.
Boy, this part's rough. Yeah. This is brutal.
And then, as if that's not, so you're like, oh, that's a good trick that they like switch the restaurant over to throw off the cops. That's good. Oh no, what's this man? Who is this? Oh Lord Almighty, the man is in yellowface. Yeah. So our evil doctor has put himself into costume and nonsensical prosthetics and makeup to look like a stereotype of a Chinese man. I mean, he looks more like a robot than an actual Chinese person. Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, he looks like Crichton from a Red Dwarf. Do you know Red Dwarf is?
Sure. Well, sure. Yeah. It is strange that like nobody looked at him and thought that's weird. That this guy looks so odd, but they're just like, whatever. It's the Monkees. We'll just gloss over that.
It's just fascinating to me, like how racism works in stereotyping, that you stereotype people to the point where they don't even look, it doesn't even make sense. You know what I mean? It's like,
right. It's Mickey Rooney in Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I remember when I was a kid and I saw that clip, I was like, I don't know what you're supposed to be. Like, I didn't know he was supposed to be Asian or Chinese or Japanese. I was just like, I don't know what this is. This is not a human, you know?
If it wasn't for the clothes, you wouldn't put it together. Yeah.
Right. Like I never understood like why the glasses? Why the teeth? My Asian friends don't look like that. What is that? You know, it's just kind of fascinating in the way that I guess that's for another podcast, I guess. The way that if you don't see people, you just rely on like cartoons and stereotypes and then you think that's what people look like. And then, oh boy, humans be crazy. Okay.
Yes.
So he turns around in yellowface and makes a big show of offering the cop food, and Mickey is irritated, and the cop gets mad at them for wasting his time. You don't even know where you were. And so
it's a great little bit of gaslighting too.
It is. So like, I'm saying, like the switching around of the restaurant, that's impressive, and I like that. But why?
Yeah.
And then they have a whole handshake bow bit with the dude. The boys go to shake his hand and he bows, and then they go to bow and he reaches out his hand, and that's, I don't know. I don't even know anymore. And then Davey has this terrible joke on the way out, and it's like so long too. He says he like takes to the camera. It's to the camera. That's what makes it even worse. So all the other guys leave, and then the other guys, there's two of them. So Mickey and Mike leave, and then Davey turns to the camera on the way out and goes, I don't know if I have this right, but that's what I hate about Chinese restaurants. Once you eat there, and then an hour later they're gone or something.
Yes, an hour later they disappear.
Disappear. The Chinese restaurant didn't disappear. The French restaurant disappeared.
Oh, nice. That's right.
Doesn't really make sense.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm not even going to go with number 2 and all the other reasons that joke. First of all, the Chinese restaurant didn't disappear. All right. And then they get a big old laugh track.
Right.
So that sucks. And then the evil doctor, like manically and insanely takes off bits of his costume and rips off the
face,
the spirit gum and like all the prosthetics, and giggles insanely. And it's gone from like, oh, that's fun, to I'm scared. It's disturbing.
Yeah. They spent a lot of time. That's another thing that's really insane about all of that is they didn't have to do any of that. Like, it could have just been like a German restaurant, and then he could have just been in lederhosen and maybe done his hair different. But they did all this work with prosthetics, and they, you know, somebody. And it's literally 30 seconds of this show. And like, what are you guys spending your money on?
That is ridiculous. And I can't get over how ridiculous those friggin' cheekbones are. It looks like Lady, remember when Lady Gaga went through that prosthetic phase of having like those crazy cheekbones? You remember? Anyway, that's what it reminds me of. It's just insane. And also it reminds me of, did you ever see what was that crazy movie? The Cloud Atlas. Did you ever see Cloud Atlas?
Oh, sure. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and remember, somebody broke down, I wish I could find this article. Maybe I will link to it later. But somebody broke down how awful the makeup was in Cloud Atlas because they used some weird stereotyping versions of Asian eyebrows that don't exist in real life.
Oh.
It's fascinating. It was like somebody had decided to do some of the makeup from a book instead of from like actual humans. It's weird. Like some of the eyebrows are more in line with what you see in a like a Looney Tunes cartoon than what you see on actual human beings. So anyway, I will have to look for that article because
nice.
I liked that movie, by the way.
Huh. Well, there's always somebody.
Here's why. I like a movie that makes big swings. I respect that movie for swinging big. I really respect that. Not everything worked. Oh, no. Yeah,
I kept waiting for some of it to tie in to some other piece of that movie, and it does not.
It does. There is a total through line.
Okay, yeah, if you say so.
The different characters, they're like reincarnated, and each character goes on a spiritual, each spirit or soul goes on a journey. Some of them start out as heroes and end up villains. Some of them start out as villains and evolve into heroes. Oh, dude, nah. All right, that's my next podcast. Cloud Atlas. All right. It's pretty good. Okay.
All right, so now they go back to the clinic.
Yes. And here's where the show gets going. This is the hot spot.
Yes.
This is where the show gets moving. So Davy is all in bandages and crutches. His head is wrapped up. He's got a cast on his arm. He's got like a splint on his leg. And they're like, oh no, our friend has been hurt. We need to check him into the hospital. And so she begins, asking for his name and then where he lives. And we get the address of the house, which I used to have memorized. I know it's Beechwood. I can't remember. It's 1348 or something.
1438.
1438 Beechwood.
Yes.
And then they ask for his occupation, and they start getting irritated. Like, what are you asking all these questions? And she gets outraged. I have a job to do. I love that so much. And they say he's a musician, and she gets all excited and says in the weirdest way possible, I love the... She pauses and points at nothing, and then says, tuba. So weird. So weird, but I love it every time. I love the tuba. Oh, she's so weird. And so then they yell at her again, and then she gets going and she calls a doctor saying, oh, we need to check this kid in. He's got broken bones and multiple contusions, and he'll probably need an operating room. Before that he coughs. Davy coughs when she says multiple contusions. And he coughs as to play up his illness. He's like, oh, you should see a doctor about that cough. Second home run for this nurse lady. Love her. That's a good one. And then she's like, oh, he'll need an operating room probably. And then she turns away from the boys and says, I don't think he'll need a recovery room. That's it. Oh, this nurse wins. She is so good. I wrote down her name too. Nancy Fish. Nancy Fish, you are a genius. I love it.
Wow.
She's so every scene she's in, she's so good. She is really good. And then she says, okay, I think we can fit you in on the 13th. Now listen, folks, all you people saying how, oh no, what happened to the good old days of American medical care? They were making jokes about not being able to be seen in a timely manner in a hospital. In 1966, they were making these jokes. How long has our medical establishment been in shambles?
Oh boy. I didn't realize it was that kind of podcast.
Sorry.
This took a turn.
It's just fascinating to me because I always associate that kind of joke with like the managed care, of like the 70s and 80s. Like that's a joke I would expect from then, but I guess it started in the 60s.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. Maybe even earlier. Maybe it's always been that way.
It's such a weird, unexpected joke to me. Like, we can see you on the 13th.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, but I'm in pain. And she's like, oh, try a cough drop. And for no real reason. Oh, he has a good physical bit where he tries to put the cough drop in his mouth with his arm in a cast. Davey's like trying to put the cough drop in his mouth with the cast, so his arm is like straight out. And then Mike helps him actually take the cough drop. And then he has this huge reaction. Do they cut away to the rocket when he takes it, or is the rocket?
I don't think so.
Okay. So he just has this huge reaction. His cast drops off his arm onto Mickey's foot. There's a big clanging sound like a manhole cover. He pushes the crutches into Mike's chest, and there's a sound effect for that. And he begins hopping on the furniture, singing his old standard, Swanee River.
Is this a song they have him sing frequently?
I believe he sang it on the Red Maracas episode. I think that's what he sang.
Because I thought it was such an odd choice. I mean, I guess it's probably public domain and they don't have to pay any royalties on it. Exactly. But I'm just like, why not just pick a Monkees song? Just do that.
Because Davey is that old school, vaudeville crooner. That's his thing.
Okay.
I'm trying to find which episode that is. What is it called? Is it Your Friendly Neighbor? No, it's not The Kidnappers. It's The Spy Who Came In From the Cool.
Right.
Episode 5. I think he sings Swanee River in episode 5 when he realizes that the CIA person is filming him from across the street. He like grabs a cane from somebody and starts singing and dancing in the middle of the street. I think it's Swanee River. I don't know. Somebody will let me know. So the nurse is thrilled with this development that Davey is feeling well enough to sing and dance. He dances on the desk in front of her, or the counter, and she's screaming, "It's a miracle drug! It's a miracle drug!" And she starts stuffing the cough drops into her mouth and chewing them insanely, which I also enjoy because, like, you don't chew a cough drop, but then, so that used to bother me. Let's go back in time. It used to bother me that she threw these cough drops in her mouth and then like chewed them like ridiculously. But now I'm like, well, how else do you heighten taking cough drops? What is she going to do? Just pop them in her mouth and like stare at the screen?
Right.
She's got to heighten it somehow. So yeah, of course she like chews them and makes crazy faces. And then we cut to a rocket taking off, which I still don't know what that means. What do you think that means? Like,
oh, it just means it has a dramatic effect on her.
So these cough drops really are miracle drugs?
Right. See, this is another problem. is that no, they're not, but who knows? Like, it doesn't make any sense because obviously they didn't have an effect on Davey because there was nothing wrong with Davey to begin with. So they can't have an effect on him.
Right.
But now they have an effect on her for some reason. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's very strange, but she's so cute chewing. I like her. All right. And the rocket goes off and then I'm confused. All right. So then we cut to the guys outside the hospital. And I honestly missed some of this dialogue. I don't know what I was distracted by. Maybe I just got into watching the show, or maybe my chili mango bits were at the bottom of the bag and I was looking.
Well, okay. So here, this I am very pleased with myself.
Yes, I did. In all caps, I wrote down Bat Hook.
Bat Hook. So before we watched the episode, I made a reference to 1966 Adam West Batman, and I did not realize that this episode also 1966. And then they make the Batman reference, and I'm like, what are the chances? So fantastic.
Good. It was so perfect. Yeah.
They make a ton of pop culture references all through this episode.
It's really good.
And some of them, like Batman, still make sense. Yes. And then others are kind of, they make a Ben Casey reference.
I'm like,
and I'm just like, I guess that was a doctor show or something.
Right.
you know, and then, but then the other crazy thing is, I know we're jumping ahead, but he says Ben Casey Act 1. And I guess it's a TV show. And I guess that used to be that whole like Quinn Martin production where they would divide the show up into acts.
Yeah, like how do you know it was Act 1? You're right.
Yeah, exactly. Unless it was a play or a movie or something. I don't know.
He's got the sides from his auditions. Pete's being an actor on the side. What's happening?
Yeah. So anyway, so they say, okay, we've got the bat hook, and then I think it's Mike yells at one of the at them to say, no, we've got this ladder right here. We're going to use the ladder, not the bat hook. What do you want to die? And then they're like, okay. So then I think they just throw the bat hook aside and they start climbing the ladder. Now this drove me insane.
Yeah.
Because they do the ladder climbing goes on for a very long time.
So long.
And not only that, but the quote unquote joke of the ladder climbing is they each one of them take a turn to look down at the ground and acknowledge how high up they are up this ladder. And that's not funny. And I kept waiting for like someone to look down and then there would be alligators down there, or
which they've done in the past. That has been a take they've done in the past. Yeah.
Or somehow the thing they are looking at is not a city street with cars on it, which is what it is for the 2 or 3 times that they show the ground, and with uproarious laughs every single time. And I'm like, it's just a guy scared climbing a ladder. There's no joke there.
Weird. It's as if they meant to. It's as if there was like
a
miscommunication in like the editing room. And they're like, well, it says to put in alligators, but that don't make no sense. Put in street scenes, you know? It's like...
Yeah, or they ran out of time, or they spent all their money on horrible racist makeup, or, you know, they just ran out of budget and they're like, sorry.
Weird. We ran out. We got to use just normal stock street footage. That part is so boring and so dumb.
So then they get in through the window.
Yes, the open window.
And I immediately recognized this from one of the, I guess it's in the opening credits of season 2, is the exercise bicycle that Mickey uses. Like he's got like a riding crop and he's whipping his either his butt or the back wheel of this bicycle. And I was like, oh, great. This I recognize. Yes. Yay. Okay.
Right. So they're in what I always thought was a gym. And then I was like, oh, wait, that's got to be physical therapy because they're in a hospital. There's no gym in a hospital.
Right.
So they're in this physical therapy and everything is like deliciously old school. Like the bikes look like actual bicycle. You know, they're not like, they just look like bicycles that have just been mounted on a 2x4. The what is that? The arm pulley machine? I don't even know what that's called. It looks like they look like what is that? The stirrups of a from a saddle from a horse. They look like stirrups that pull out.
Yeah, and it's just springs. That's the other great thing about this rehab room is it just bears no resemblance to anything that, you know, has survived. They've got this whole bit with the with the juggling pins that people used to use for athletic
those weights.
Conditioning. Yes. And then they've got, like you said, the spring pulleys. They've got the bikes where the handlebars go in and out as you pedal. Like that's supposed to help. It's got
that thing. I remember those.
Yeah, it's got the sweat box that you zip up, and your head pops out, and you're just and it just blasts you with steam, and you're supposed to sweat a bunch. It's just like
sauna boxes.
What is any of this? Like none of this is used anywhere anymore.
I remember that shaky belt thing that Davy is on.
Right.
I remember my mom's best friend had one of those when I was a kid. She had it. It was in her bedroom. I remember she had one of those shaky belt things.
Although I will say medicine balls are making a comeback.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
So Okay, I'll give them that. That is the one thing I think that probably survived.
The old-fashioned, the rowing machine.
Right. Yes, right. Rowing machines are huge now. Yeah. Okay, that's true.
But that one's like so rickety and like everything seems to be made of wood, which seems really unsafe. It's like,
yes,
I feel like you're gonna pinch something in there. You know, something's gonna get out of whack, and then you're gonna get a really bad pinch.
Oh yeah, or splinter. Sure,
splinter, a horrible splinter.
Okay, so they're in the physical therapy room now. Does the nurse come in next?
Wait, they change into PJs and robes magically.
Right.
Then we cut to Peter in ropes and the scientist all drugged. So we cut to the bad guys.
Right.
And this is where Peter does his Ben Casey bit, and the other henchman wants to shoot him, and the bad guy says like, no, we have other plans, and then the henchman says, but he knows too much, and Pete says, oh, thank you.
That's a great joke.
So
great joke.
I love it.
I laughed out loud. I wrote it down. I liked it so much.
It's so good. And then this is like, this one I remember. I really like this. I think I like this episode. And so then they leave because the evil doctor has a better plan. They walk out. And then here's the other pop culture reference. Pete hops. He's still tied to a chair, so he hops over to the mirror, looks in the mirror. Does he look in the mirror? No, he doesn't even look at the mirror. He sits up straight and says, Shazam! And heroic music plays, and then the glass just shatters. And he says, oh, well, another 7 years bad luck for Captain Marvel. Wah, wah, right. Wah. Okay. I have a very vague memory of Shazam. I really don't remember it.
I don't know if the Shazam TV show, because it was a live action TV show that was Saturday mornings, and it played, it was Shazam. It was the Shazam and ISIS Power Hour, I believe.
Yes, I heard of this.
Yeah, and so they were essentially the same show, except it's Shazam was the boy and I can't remember, and ISIS was the girl, and they had they were tweens, and then Shazam would say Shazam, and then he would turn into an adult man, and then ISIS, she would say Almighty ISIS, and then she would turn into sort of 70s version of what an Egyptian goddess looks like. So I'm showing that IMDb says Shazam was in 1974, which makes sense. That's when I would have seen it. So that's, that predates. So
is this like the comic book? He's referencing a comic book?
It must have been. I don't know what else,
Yeah, and then like, are mirrors involved? I don't, who's going to help me out on this? Mark Masterson. Yeah. If you're listening, Mark, help me out. I know you had a Shazam shirt in college. I remember that. So why does Pete go to the mirror to say Shazam?
Yeah.
Mark, let us know. All right. Okay. Yeah. So, and then the henchman comes in. All right. So the mirror breaks, and then we cut back, and then the henchman comes in to train to physical therapize, the boys. And that's when we get Davey on the shaky belt thing to get rid of his spare tire. And then it cuts back and he's got like a tire and he throws it away, which is a joke I didn't get for approximately 15 years. I did not get that joke at all. I did not know that extra weight around your waist was called a spare tire.
Nice.
So I had no idea why Davey had a tire. Then we have the rowing with a girl. Mike's on the rowing machine with a girl playing a banjo. And then the henchman says, you'll never get anywhere that way. And Mike's like, he says something smart about that.
Yeah, yes, he says, this guy's got to be kidding.
Oh, thank you.
Which is you remember how earlier I said that other joke was my second favorite joke? Yeah. This is my first favorite joke. I laughed out loud, literally laughed out loud at that joke. Yeah, because it's him on that rowing machine we were talking about. He's playing the banjo. This random woman that we've never seen is sitting at the head of this rowing machine. And the whole thing is this doctor trying to really push the Monkees very, very hard. So obviously they can get, rehabilitated. And the idea is that, like, you're supposed to be rowing vigorously to, go back to your optimum health. And so that's why the doctor says you'll never get anywhere that way.
Yeah, it's very cute. And it's one of the—
But of course, he's not trying to get to optimum health. He's just trying to make time with this young lady at the head of the rowing machine.
And I think he actually does, ladies and gentlemen. That's the rumor. Okay. So, what was I going to say about this training? Oh, nah, I totally lost. Oh, yeah, they're in the saunas. I think they're sauna. I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry. The Finnish saunas. They're in the saunas. And with like dry ice, clearly. Like, it's just so much smoke. It's like ridiculous. And so then we cut back to, I was going to say something about this girl in the banjo. Oh, I know what I was going to say. One of the few times that Mike gets to like be all humana over a girl. He doesn't get to do it very often because he's married. So they didn't let him do that very often. So yeah, it really stands out to me for some reason. Now when he gets to, I'll go a girl. We cut back to poor Pete, and there's an amnesia ray. That's what we'll use. Instead of killing Pete, we'll put an amnesia ray on him and he'll forget everything. And Pete asks how long that's going to last. And the evil doctor says, well, on a normal brain, it's about 3 days. But for you, early spring. Oh, pizza dummy. Oh, no.
Yep. Heavy laugh track. Yes. I know this is going to sound insane, but I actually kind of liked the memory wiping ray effect,
yes, it was
which was really just shining a very focused beam of colored light on Pete's forehead and then blasting him with steam at the same time.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, it's low budget, but it worked for me. I dug it.
That's clearly a laser. Yep, that's a laser. But the thing that's weird is like the baby bottle pop that sticks out of the thing. It looks like a little popsicle that pops out of the ray gun part. It's weird.
Oh, yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's low budget.
The light and the smoke, that's good. Or steam. So then he's actually like forgetting things, and we have this weird flashbacky thing where like he sees the boys playing on the beach, which we see in opening credits. I think, is that second season or is that first season opening credits? Anyway, so in Pete's head, he sees them on the swings at the beach and slides, and you hear, Peter, where are you? Peter, where are you? Right? And that's weird. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I guess that's just him losing his memory.
But then he hears the boys calling him. I don't understand.
Sure.
I think I skipped the henchman leaving the training room, and then the phone rings before the guys can leave, and then Mike answers it, as you do, and updates the person on the phone with what's going on in the episode. And Mickey asks, is that the police? And Mike says, no, it was TV Guide. Ba-dum-bum. Cute. Pete, so then Pete walks into the physical therapy room, and they're like, Pete, and he's like, I've never seen you before in my life. Oh no. And that should be a commercial break, but we don't have commercial breaks because we're not watching on broadcast TV. Alan, Are you still there? I hear things opening and closing. What's happening?
Oh yeah, then my kid came in for a second. Okay. Yeah, so I just closed the door again.
Okay.
Yeah. So okay, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was
Sorry,
just gonna say,
No, go ahead. I got nothing.
All right, so Pete walks in, and then and I love Pete's version of amnesia is to make questioning faces while putting his hand to his face, like, huh? Just constantly thinking. This was his version of amnesia. So he's like, who are you? Who am I? What's my name? What's your name? And so the boys are like, okay, Mickey in his like a mad scientist way is like, oh, I hear a shock to the system can, trigger amnesia or something, which is, good old classic sitcom logic. But I love the way he's like, I hear, he puts it like almost scientific, a shock to the nervous system. It's like really cute. Like come on, guys, just scare them. We know how sitcoms work. Scare. So Mickey says really sweetly, hey, Peter, we're gonna scare you, so don't be scared. So then they all go behind him and scare him, and he's like, "No, guys, no, you gotta catch me off guard." And so they put on a big ruse of whistling and chatting with him casually, and then they scare him, and he says, "Oh no, you guys were trying to do kill me." I'm like, "Oh no, we're sorry." And Pete says, "Oh, and that's okay, Mickey," to Davy, and Davy's like, "Oh, he knows me. It's so good how excited Davy gets. He knows.
Except my name's Davy.
But it's so cute. Davy is the best actor out of all of them. He really is.
Sure, but that's a low bar.
But it's so good. Like when Davy gets to do, I really enjoy it. Like his he knows me just gets me every time. There's like a couple of Davy moments throughout the seasons that get me, and that's one of them. So the nurse comes in. Oh, the nurse comes back, and I'm very excited. The boys all hide. She comes in and puts this giant mask on the passed out scientist, and Peter is there, and Peter asks a question. I can't remember what he asked, but she says it's a very smart question, so Pete's happy.
Right.
And then he asks when the doctor's coming back, and she says he'll be back. She looks at her watch. In a few moments. I love this nurse so much.
Way to go, Fish. You're doing the good work, Nancy.
Oh, I'm convinced that was not written. I'm pretty sure her line was just in a few moments, and I'm convinced that Nancy Fish decided to look at her watch. I'm convinced that was her. And she says, in the meantime, here's a cough drop, and then we have the whole cough drop rocket thing.
Right, except this time the rocket spins wildly out of control because Pete's memory is still in a state of disarray.
Is that what they're saying? Okay.
Yes.
Very nice. Good work. So they dropped the ball with the street scene, but then they really ramped it up with the rocket, the cough drop bits.
Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently, B-roll footage is cheap to come by, so right. They just got all that rocket footage at a deal.
And it's so weirdly colored. That's the thing. They just put a red filter over it. That's fun. No, sure. It's not. It's just weirdly red now. So then they decide to switch. Is that when they decide to switch? Oh yeah, somebody says, "Oh,
right.
Wait. I'm missing something. Where did I write? Did I ever write it down? I didn't write it down. At some point, when Peter gets all excited to tell, he finally remembers what's happening. And he gets all excited that they have to save them. When does that happen? Did I miss that?
Yeah, no, that has to be right around this time.
Yeah,
where
it has
he says they're moving the professor out tonight.
And
and
Mike's feet he's just running in place, basically.
Yes.
In excitement. It's so good. It's so weird. He's just running in place because Pete's all excited, oh, he's just running. Yeah, that.
I wish I could have seen that wide shot. I really wanted to see what those feet were up to, so but sadly, no.
So excitable. All right, and so then they convince Mickey that he's got to switch, because Mickey and that old scientist guy, they're pretty much the same person. Nobody will tell the difference.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, they're the same. And so they I guess they prop up the scientist behind the what is that thing? That thing in the corner, the
little screen, the little trifold screen
back there or something. I don't know. They make a show, and I find this interesting. They come out from behind it, and then Peter says he's comfortable. Like they want the audience to know. No. We sat him down. We didn't just plop him over. We made sure that he's comfortable.
Yeah, he's fine.
Oh, Pete, thanks for letting us know he's comfortable. And oh yeah, that's when they decide that Mickey's got to switch. And Mickey's like, oh no, they're talking about the guy being evil, and then Mickey's like, well, what about me? And they're like, oh, you're not evil. And Mike says, crafty and selfish, maybe, but not evil. which is a good bird. I like that. I think that might be one of my favorite jokes from the whole season. Mickey is crafty and selfish, maybe. So Mickey's on the gurney. Is it a gurney? I call it a gurney. I don't know what they are.
Yeah.
And the boys are underneath. And the bad guys come in to take him away for a brainwashing surgery. Okay, it's a cartoon. I'm watching a cartoon. I should question these things.
Right. And we don't know why. We don't know what's in his head that they're trying to get rid of or what he's seen or nothing. No, doesn't matter.
Why they're I thought, because earlier he said like, oh, we're just trying to get the, America will lose one of its, most brilliant scientists. And I was like, oh, okay, you're trying to do like a brain drain kind of thing. I get it. But now they're brainwashing him. Anyway. So they wheel Mickey away and the boys are underneath, crouched under, moving their little feet. And the bad guys don't notice anything. And then they get to the operating room and they keep Mickey under the cloth to move him from the gurney to the operating table. If that cloth came off, they would know, hey, that's not that old scientist guy. And then the boys sneak out and come back in as doctors. Because, most doctors are 20 years old.
Sure, of course.
That's not unusual. And, but Mike is the doctor because Mike is the dad of the group. So Davey makes a show of putting gloves on Mike.
This is the best.
This is good work.
So this is definitely the improv part of this episode because they don't really speak. And it's just trying to get these gloves. It's another person putting gloves on another person and trying to get the fingers on the fingers. But of course, it's all cattywampus and the half of the finger is in the finger and the other half's going kablooey. And it's great.
It's great. And the best part is Peter puts out his hands to get gloves on and Davey goes to put another glove on Mike. So Mike ends up with 4 gloves.
And then I think Mike says something like, you can never be too careful or something like that. Yeah.
It is a great, great, great moment. And so then they're arguing. Mike says, how dare you? This is my patient. And so they're arguing with the bad guy. And then he says, okay, I know how we'll do it. We'll cut cards. And then Pete.
Oh boy. I saw this joke coming down Main Street a mile away and I'm just like, okay, let's just get this over with.
And so Pete has a big old knife and he makes a big old swing down on some cards and 13-year-old
perfectly cut in half.
13-year-old Tekurah has no idea what that happened because 13-year-old Tekurah did not know what cut cards meant.
Weren't playing poker yet, were you? All right, well, you got to learn sometime, I suppose.
I don't know what this means. It just always went right over my head. And then so he's like, oh, you lose. And so then Davey begins handing Mike the utensils. That's not the word, but
the sponge, the scissors, the scalpel.
Scalpel, and then he like puts it in his hand and Mike's like, and he's like, do it again or you'll never learn. So he makes Davey do it again, give it to him the right way. And then he asks for peanut butter. And then the doctors have had enough at this point. The evil doctors are like, this is ridiculous. This is our patient. And then Mike pulls out a menu and says, no, it's my patient. It says right here on the menu. Now, the menu is for my favorite joke title, the Vincent Van Gogh, which I believe is like a restaurant in their neighborhood. I think we've been there before as an audience. But what is the joke that it says it on the menu that he's my patient? I don't know. There's no joke there.
I got nothing.
Yeah, there's no joke.
Yeah.
And so then they're fighting over the body. They're pulling the gurney or the operating table now around. And then finally the doctors realize, oh, those are those musicians. And it's romp time, everybody. Woo!
This is one of the reasons also I did not like this episode is there's only one romp. Normally there's two sometimes, right? Okay, so this only has one romp and we have to get, I timed it, we have to get 21 minutes into this 25-minute episode before we can get to our romp.
Yes, it's at the end. It's so weird.
Oh, But here's the interesting thing about this is at the very, very beginning of the episode, they do hint at, they play a little bit of Stepping Stone. That
Is that the entrance music when they come in? The very beginning?
Yeah, they're in the hall, you know, in that ballroom where the gig takes place, and they play it. So I knew immediately, like, oh, great, that's Stepping Stone, great song. But then we got to go another 20 minutes before we get to the romp. So the romp is basically them in, and again, again, I win because this is the most Scooby-Doo-ish thing ever is them running in the hallway, in between doors, in and out of doors. And if you look in the background, they have painted a vanishing perspective hallway to make you think that the hallway is twice as big as it actually is.
Yes, I know. Those are the things I wrote down. I wrote Scooby-Doo. We go to Scooby-Doo, and then I wrote backdrop because that fake hallway is so good. I love that fake hallway.
Now, I will give, so we should mention at this point, actually at any point, the other actors. So there's two main bad guys. There's Vincent Gardenia.
Vincent Gardenia. Oh, that's Vincent Gardenia?
Yes, from Moonstruck. You may remember him.
Gosh.
And he's in this insane toupee.
I love his wig, though.
It's like a bowl cut toupee wig. He must have been bald even in 1966. And
like a really inflated Mo from the Three Stooges.
Yeah, right.
It's like a giant Mo.
And then the other guy is Vito Scotti, who a name I did not recognize, but he was in The Godfather like 6 years later.
Awesome.
You know, and he was in Get Shorty. Like he's had all of these. He was, you know, he's got 231 credits to his resume. But both of them. The reason why I bring them up is I think both of them do a stellar job in this romp.
They do.
They are matching, I think, the Monkees' rompability in terms of running into each other, which they do quite a bit. A lot of gurney action, where the gurneys are they're pulling and they're swinging around, and then the gurneys sometimes go between them, and which is why they run into each other, and just like they really, really sell it. So it's funny because you don't look at either of those two and think, oh, okay, these guys are going to be really good physical comedians, but I think they did a really stellar job.
My favorite part is when they do the exaggerated tiptoey bit where you put your hands up like a bunny and you tiptoe. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, yes. I love that.
That's also a very Scooby-Doo move. I think the dog Scooby-Doo actually does that quite a bit himself.
Right. And they do that.
Yeah.
All of I feel like, you know, I used to know which boys it was doing it, and I don't know now. I don't remember who it is, but and our two villains do it beautifully. Just so good.
Yeah.
There's wheelchairs. There's a binocular bit with a nurse. Oh, and Mike and Micky are looking at each other in binoculars, and then the nurse goes by, and then they look at her, and then they both take to the camera, and the face that Mike makes is exactly like my friend Dave. It's really creepy. I'm like, I have seen my friend Dave make that exact face. And it's super weird. They're biking and rowing. It's like a bike.
Right. There's a lot of that too, where it's like the villain and the hero are both on these stationary vehicles and rowing or biking like mad, as if one might catch up to the other or one might escape the other. Yes, there are lots of that. And the whole romp pretty much takes place in that one hallway and then back again in the physical therapy room.
And yeah, it's my kind of, I don't know why, it's just my kind of humor. Yeah, you're on a stationary bike, running, biking for your life. And then they end up on the gurney and the Monkees spin the bad guys into submission. They just spin them around on that gurney until they just give up. They can't do no more. And that's how they win. So Dr. Schnitzel thanks the boys. And then Mike and Micky have super cheesy hero voice. Oh wait, first Mike has a good joke saying that you're gonna be in trouble with the cops and you'll probably be suspended for 20 years from the AMA, which is a joke I never noticed before. You'll get a wrist slap.
No, right, a wrist slap from the AMA.
From the cops, and then a wrist slap from the AMA. That's a good one. Mike and Micky talk about evil and badness, and then away to the Monkee Mobile, and they all away dramatically. And I think that is something that my sister and I actually ended up saying when we were growing up. Away to the Monkee Mobile. And then Peter, of course, stops to ask the bad guy about his tonsil. And then who goes back to get him? Is it Mike or Micky?
I don't remember.
Dude, how dare you?
I just watched this episode. I cannot remember.
In my head, it's always Mike.
I'm sitting here listening to you talk about it, and I'm thinking to myself, how did this thing actually end? I don't even remember. I remember
he wants to ask the guy about his tonsil. He sticks his hand in his mouth, asking about tonsil. And and then I think Mike comes back and says, "Dude, we gotta go. We gotta go." And then we get a shot of the boys hanging out the back of the Monkee Mobile as it drives down, I don't know, Sunset Boulevard. Who knows what street that is. And that's the end of our episode. Love is understanding. All right. So.
Oh, no.
Second season. Sorry.
Yeah. So that's another thing that I don't like about this first season is I like that ending song. Yeah. And then in the first season, they just play the theme song all over again. And it's like, all right. I mean, it's not that I don't like the theme song. I think this theme song's great. But I do love that ending song because it's got a different vibe to it.
It's a late 60s vibe. It's a definitely
and it's much more laid back. The original, the main title is just much more high energy, and the second one is just it's just a mellower vibe, and it kind of makes you feel like, okay, we're done with this, So that kind of bummed me out too.
Yeah.
I need to go back and re-edit all of these just to take, the song, add more romps and more songs and change songs and,
Okay, well,
do my own Criterion collection of the re-edit.
I think some people may be upset with you for that, but good luck on that.
Thanks.
So I have been very clear that my favorite character in this episode has been the nurse. She doesn't even have a name. I mean, we know she's Nancy Fish, but I don't even think her character has a name, which is unfair. The nurse is the best. Every scene, she is brilliant in every single scene. She is 100% committed to the insanity of this nurse. I want to know what this nurse does. I want to know what her home life is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you want a spinoff.
Yes, I want to know what this nurse does. And I remember Don Kirshner is the name of the music producer I was trying to think of.
Oh, sure.
And then we have to play a game. I don't know if you know.
Oh, great.
But Mark Leonard gave us the game Park Coffee Shins Bank. Which monkey would you want to go to the park with? Which monkey would you want to get a coffee with? Which monkey would you kick in the shins? And which monkey would you rob a bank with? So Park Coffee Shins Bank.
Yeah, okay. So kicking the shins has to be Micky Dolenz. Because I am a Micky Dolenz and I hate what I am. So therefore I would take it out on him because everything I don't like about myself, I'm loud, I talk too much, all that stuff. That's what Micky is. Rob a bank has to be Mike because Mike's the responsible one. And there's so much on the line. You can't you can't leave that to anybody else. And then what are the other two? The other two things?
And coffee. Go to the park and get a coffee.
Go to the park is obviously Peter, right. Because Peter is, I'm going to want to throw a Frisbee around, but Peter is down. Peter is down with kicking a soccer ball and throwing a Frisbee and just doing any old fun park activities, swinging on the swings, right. Whatever you want to do. Peter's down with that. And then get a coffee, sure, because Davey's got that cool British accent. So we could drink a coffee and chat about literally anything. Right. I don't care. I just want to hear that British accent coming at me. It's so mellifluous.
Yes, Manchester cowboy.
Yeah.
Oh, and did you have a favorite character? I feel like maybe the enemies, maybe are our bad guys.
Yes, definitely. I'm going to actually say Vincent Gardenia's hair is my favorite character, because that hair is working overtime. But if I can't have the hair, then definitely Vincent Gardenia is he's doing some stuff in there that's great, and plus all the physical comedy and whatnot. And he's not problematic, so it's fine. It's fine to like him. Yeah.
Before we go, I would like to thank Tawanda92 for her, I'm guessing it's her, you know what, I don't know, for their lovely review that I missed this review. This is from April 19th. They said, Monkees Fan Unite, 5 stars, which is quite generous. I have really been enjoying this podcast. Like Tekurah, I first discovered the Monkees via MTV and watched and rewatched each one multiple times. I love hearing the recap of each episode, as it brings back so many memories of the show for me. The banter and observations made by her and her guests make me laugh, and I find myself either agreeing with their insight or discovering a new way to look at each episode. Keep up the great work, and I'll keep listening. Thank you, Tawanda92. That is super nice, and I love you. Everybody, please make sure to rate and review. And I know I say that, and I know you hear it all the time. And even I'm like watching stuff on YouTube, and then I realize, oh, I've never liked any of these episodes. So then I'll actually have to actually make sure I like it. I've watched things for years, and I haven't clicked like. So please, rate and review. Subscribe on Apple Podcast. Review on Apple Podcasts, please. Alan, if people, did I scare you?
Yes.
If people want to...
I've got my memory back though, so it's all good.
All right. If people wanted to find you, where could they find you?
Oh, I'm on all the stuff, usually under my own name. One of the things I do is I have my own Twitter account, the Thankful Project, where I just put stuff that makes me happy, and there's no politics, there's nothing. It's at ThankProj. I highly recommend everybody start their own sort of safe haven, good times, good vibes area, whether it's a Twitter account or an Instagram or whatever, just someplace that you can remind yourself that life has been good, to quote Billy Joel, I think. That's excellent. So anyway, so there's that. Oh, and I for fun, do these really disturbing, Uncanny Valley animations for usually the My Brother and Me podcast. I would love it if I could get 1,000 subscribers, because at that point I could actually monetize my YouTube channel, because that's the threshold. I am absolutely nowhere near that, but if you can subscribe anyway, it would get me a little closer. The easiest way to find it is if you just search YouTube for Spoon Hog. It is one of the videos I made. There is only one Spoon Hog. If you just go that, click on the video, and then click subscribe, then that's me. Oh, and finally, I have to, even though this has nothing to do with me, I have to recommend that people go back and listen to Stacey Molsky's episode of this podcast, because Stacey has one of the greatest jokes ever. In her episode, she got her romp was to the song Mary Mary.
Right.
and you were doing you were doing before Park and Coffee. You had suggested Mary F. Kill. And then Stacy says, "Oh, well, based on the song, I thought you were going to do Mary F. Kill."
I remember that.
Which is a gorgeous joke. I wrote her. I said, "Stacy, great job. Well done."
Yes, it should have been Mary. Oh, Stacy's a genius. All right. So I think that's gonna do it. Subscribe, leave a rating. I said like as if this is a video, guys. This isn't a video, but like it in your own special way. Subscribe, leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Find us on all social media at Monkees Podcast. Support the show by getting official podcast merch at dragonwagonshop.com. Is there anything I'm forgetting? Let me go through my notes.
I just have to say I've been a fan of this podcast since it started, and it's such a big thrill for me to be on it. And so that was fun for me.
Thank you so much. It was fun to have you on. This is a long one though.
Well, feel free to cut down. I won't mind. I don't mind if you edit me. It's fine.
We probably won't because it's a pandemic. All right. Thank you, everybody. Sorry it's been so long, but as you know, I'm trying to teach kids from home. I've got to commute to get instruments ready and distribute them, and it's been crazy times. And I'm so thankful that I had today to talk to Alan and to talk to to reach out to all of you again. So forgive me for my tardiness, but it's been crazies. Thank you. Participate in that Thankful project thing. That sounds like a good idea. And we will see you. No, we won't see you at all. But we'll hear from you. Tune in next time, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
James Baldwin once wrote, "I am what time, circumstance, and history have made of me, certainly. But I am also much more than that." And that's really why I wanted to start Black on Black. My name is Julian Michael. I'm a comedian, I'm a writer, I'm an educator. I do a lot of things, but really, Black on Black isn't about me. It's about sharing stories of all kinds of people from across the diaspora, and I hope that when you listen, you'll learn something, you'll enjoy, and you'll start a conversation. Check out Black on Black right here on Dragon Wagon Radio.
It's Dragon Wagon.